All right. So are you ready, Allison?
I am ready, TQ.
All right. You look pretty.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You as well.
Yeah, thank you. I tried. I got off work and I just ran real quick and like started setting up stuff because the rain started coming over here and I didn't get it later than I wanted to. So.
Oh man, I'm so jealous. You guys have rain?
Yeah. Sip something if you feeling it. Smoke something if you feeling it. Yeah. Spread love if you feeling it. Yeah. Clap to it if you feeling it. Stand up if you feeling it. Yeah. Move something if you feeling it. Yeah. Let it show if you feeling it. No shame, no shame. She loves it.
Hey you guys, welcome to Mic and Cheese. I'm your host TQ, and today we have an artist by the name of Alison Solo with us today. How you doing, Allison?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I am good. I am living. So how have you been? Pretty good?
Yeah, I've been really good. Actually, this afternoon I made my pot of mac and cheese.
Oh yeah, so you made it today. Tell us what you got with that mac and cheese.
Okay, so it's kind of elitist because I have very interesting ingredients in there. It's mostly due to the fact that, well, it's vegan. I'm not vegan, but I'm highly lactose intolerant, and I really miss cheese. But I tried to make the closest thing possible. So I put some nutritional yeast in there to give it like that cheesy flavor. It's got like almond milk, it's got spices, so it's got like a nice kick to it. And I swear to God, this was a lot cheesier before, earlier on before I refrigerated it. And it's tri-colored.
That's interesting, I see.
Yeah, it's really good though, I promise. It's really good.
That's good. That's different. That's really different. Well, I have my mom's. She made it for me. Like maybe, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? And it's her mac and cheese, signature mac and cheese. And I was like, oh, this is going to be so perfect. It's like baked.
Oh,
so I'm like cutting it out in like squares, but I can also cut the squares up and then just have it. But it's really good. It got, so it has onions in it. Very minced onions, so you can't even you can't taste it at all in your mouth, like the texture of it, but it gives it really good flavor. Salt, pepper, she put cottage cheese in it this time, which she doesn't normally do, and it's really good. Oh my god. And then I think cheddar cheese.
That's so good.
So it doesn't look cheesy, but it is. Like the cheese is not stretching, but it's so cheesy when you eat it. It's really good.
Oh man. Yeah, that looks good.
Thank you.
It's making me not want to eat mine anymore, to be quite frank.
I would like to taste yours. It looks interesting.
Yeah, no, it is. It's really good. You know, I'm like I said, I'm a little bit limited with food allergies and stuff, but there's some amazing alternatives now. So, you know, you can look, and it's pretty close to the real thing. So,
yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. So, Allison, you're from Toronto, Ontario, right? Correct. And you live in Vancouver now.
Yeah.
So what brought you to Vancouver?
Okay. So, little anecdote. So I was actually born in London, England.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I came to Canada when I was 3 years old, not by myself, with my family. And so, you know, I spent the greater part of 29 years in Ontario.
Oh, wow.
I ended up moving back to England in 2018. With my partner, and then after the year was up, I was just super homesick. So I wanted to come back, but my family actually relocated out to Vancouver 4 years ago, and so I've been here so many times, and I've got good friends out here, and I just decided, you know what, I want to be in Vancouver. So I'm here now. Yeah, so
that's so cool. It looks like a pretty city too.
It's absolutely beautiful. You know, and if you get a chance to come out, you really should.
Yeah, I want to visit one day.
You really should. I've seen like 6 bears in the last month.
Really?
Yeah,
That is so cool. I don't think I've ever seen a bear in my life ever. Only on TV.
Well, you might encounter one here.
So do you ever come to the States?
I've been to a few states. I haven't been in a while. When was the last time I was there? I was in New York. I went to Poughkeepsie, upstate, to go see a concert, and I was also in Manhattan. And I went again to Manhattan a year later. I've been to New Jersey. I've been to LA, and like Buffalo.
Oh, cool. Originally, I'm from Brooklyn, and then I was raised the rest of my life in Richmond. So yeah, how'd you like New York when you visit?
How do I like?
How did you like New York when you visited it?
Oh, it's amazing. You know, it has a pulse. You know, it has this energy. It's there's nothing else like it. You know, for me now, I think I find it a bit overwhelming because now I'm used to being closer to nature. And I'm away from the city. 'Cause when I was living in Ontario, I was living in Toronto, and I was right in the heart of downtown. And you know, you get older and you kind of want to get away from that a little bit. But I want to go back to New York for sure, because you can't just go once or twice. You have to go back multiple times to see everything. So
yeah, you do, and it's pretty exciting in New York. It's like go, 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 go. So yeah. It's nice to visit. I wouldn't go back to live, but it's nice to visit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into some music, Alison. So I know you play guitar.
Correct.
And then, so is there any other instruments you may play?
Yeah, so I play the bass guitar as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I used to dabble in piano a little bit many years ago, and I'm ashamed to say that the last time I attempted to play it was just an utter disaster. So I haven't had a keyboard, you know, accessible in the last couple of years, so it's been difficult, you know. But I'm sure if I spent time with it, I'd start picking up some stuff. I can kind of navigate my way around a little bit, you know, enough to like compose a little bit. So
that's super cool. How old were you when you started playing guitar? Did you teach yourself, or did someone else teach you?
Yeah, I mean, I never feel that really anybody's completely self-taught. I always feel that there's something that you learn from, you know, whether it's a person or, you know, a magazine back in the day before the internet. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I got my first guitar when I was 11 years old from my aunt and uncle, and it was to like help me facilitate my songwriting. And yeah, then that was it. You know, I was hooked.
Right, that's so cool. So one of your songs from your album, Rosetta Tharpe, Sister Rosetta Tharpe. And I know she's a great guitarist, great singer. Did she have any influence on your guitar playing after a while, or is that she's just an artist that you really liked?
So I can tell you a little bit about the background of the song on the record if you want.
Yes.
Because I shamefully had never heard of Sister Rosetta Tharpe until 5 years ago. So no, she actually influenced my playing. What happened was several years ago, I had begun writing the song, but it was originally called Backup Girl. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it was after a series of events that I had experienced, and I was a backup singer for a little while for someone, and, you know, did a show and some studio work and came back, and then I had an injury. And that injury left me incapacitated for a little while, but it was about a year-long journey, and I kind of had like this spiritual awakening during that time. Mm-hmm. And I started writing the song. It was done on the keyboard, and I wrote the verse and the chorus, and it was primarily about feeling ostracized, not necessarily within the music industry, but mainly within the music industry, and feeling like I was kind of just a contingency plan, you know, and feeling like I had this big voice and so much I wanted to say, and it was like never allowed to be heard. And that's really where the idea came from. So fast forward to 3 years later, because I hadn't touched that song since I wrote the verse and the chorus. Fast forward to 3 years later, and before one of my waitressing chefs, I was sitting in an eatery, and I met this retired man who told me that he started to learn the harmonica. We started talking, and he told me to check out Sister Rosetta Tharpe.
Mm-hmm.
So I did, and naturally I was floored, And then, I didn't really listen to her after that for a long time, truthfully.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward again to 4 years, and I'm in England, and I'm filtering through all of my repertoire, thinking, how am I going to make this new record seamless? What material am I going to keep? What's going to go? And I had old songs, I had new songs, I had not so new or old, maybe like a couple years old, And I went through my voice memos in my email, and I saw Backup Girl, and I thought, I've always wanted to do something with this. Now, around that same week, I'd been talking to James Last, the drummer and co-producer of the album.
Mm-hmm.
And, we were talking about just people not really receiving credit where it's due, particularly in music. And so suddenly Sister Rosetta Tharpe kind of like came into my consciousness, and I was like, oh my God, you have to watch this woman. So suddenly I remembered her, and I showed him the infamous video of her doing a performance at the train station. And I thought, this woman should not be unheralded. Now, mind you, having said that, she was finally inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2017. Finally.
Yes, I heard about that.
I'm coming, right?
Yeah.
And, I kind of felt really passionate about it. And I think I kind of felt a visceral connection to her because of that, because I could relate to her in many ways.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in superficial ways, but I could relate to her. And a few days later, when I was working on the song and I decided to try playing it on guitar, the rest of the song just flowed out, but I was short of lyrics. I didn't have any more lyrics other than the first verse and chorus that I'd originally written.
Mm-hmm.
So I showed it to James, and he was like, why don't you name it Sister Rosetta Tharpe? And I was like, so, it worked out really well. And he sat down and wrote some lyrics for it. I sat down and wrote a few more lyrics, and then I kind of took some stuff out, and then, the song was born. It was finished, and, I still feel that it represents how I feel. So originally, even though the song was about me,
Right.
It's kind of about me and her.
Right. That's cool. That's a cool story. I like that. I love that story. And so did you always know you wanted to eventually sing and record music?
Yeah. I mean, I have a bit of a cliche story with that, but I tell everybody I literally started to sing as soon as I knew I could speak,
Wow.
Yeah, it just, and funny enough, actually, when I was a little girl, I was obsessed with Whitney Houston. She was my favorite singer. So I used to go sing I Will Always Love You to everybody I knew. And it's funny because I was rather meek and mild as a child. I was actually painfully timid. But when I sang, it was like, oh no, this big voice is coming out. And, so I'd sing her songs, and I remember sitting in my parents' backyard. Mm-hmm. And my first songwriting experience really was taking her lyrics, but plugging in my own to her melody. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I got started. I think I was 9 or something, and then, my aunt and uncle were musicians and stuff, so they encouraged it. But so, in short, singing was just something that felt very natural, whether I'm good at it or not, that's another story, but it just felt right,
Right. And when you feel that feeling, that this is what it is. I'm going to do it. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
So you did say you started singing first, right? Before you started playing an instrument?
That's right. Yeah. Right. And it was bought for me to help facilitate that.
Yeah. And that means that you were destined. You were destined to sing. And now we have you here now. That's super cool. So I did read that your music page reached over 1,000 supporters, and congrats on that too.
Thank you so much.
So when you realized it met that many supporters, how did you feel?
Oh, that's a good question. I felt good. Truthfully, that's never quite what it's really been about for me. I'm not going to lie and say it felt bad. It felt good. on the same token, it always feels like nothing's ever good enough. And I want to get out of that habit, but it's kind of like, 1,000. Okay, well, I want to reach 5,000 now, 1,000's not good enough,
Right.
so I don't really boast in my own glory for that long because I'm already thinking of the next goal.
Right.
I didn't get enough time to really enjoy it because I'm like, no, I don't know, we got to be at 5,000, even, pardon me.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay. Even though I said it's not about that, because it's not, but I have to have little goals that I reach, in order to feel like I've accomplished something. But yeah, I mean, it felt good,
That's so good. And like you said, like having a goal, it's almost like I'll set my little smartwatch to a goal of how many calories I want to, do. And when I reach it, if I reach it a few times, I'm like, I want to make more. Like I want to do it. I want to reach another goal. Like, so I make it higher every single time. So
exactly. Yep. Push the envelope.
Yep, definitely. And you challenge yourself too. So that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad. So, how did the idea of the album cover come about? That painting is super cool looking.
You know what? It's funny. I knew you were going to ask me that. Totally knew it. I'm not going to completely answer on behalf of the artist because even though he worked with some of the motifs that I gave him, he kind of had his own vision for it, and I had my own vision, and those two visions kind of married each other. So I'm not going to speak on behalf of him, but for me, some of the motifs within the record were, transformation, intensity, rawness, old school, shaking up the norm, and for him, some of that may have applied, but there was kind of this whole other storm happening. And the record, it's kind of it really is a journey, because some of those songs were written in the eye of the storms, and so I wanted it to just be really intense, and really shake the ground beneath people. And I wanted it colorful because that to me represented that intensity. The name Plutonian, that is like an archetypal energy within astrology. I don't know if you're very familiar with astrology or if you're into it at all.
No, well, not as much. Like I hear people from time to time talk about like astrology, but I'm not super into it. And I was actually going to ask you about the name of the album too. So you took it right out of my mouth.
So, I mean, I don't know a whole lot, but it's something that I've delved much deeper into the past couple of years. And Plutonian is an archetypal energy in astrology. And basically, it's an energy that becomes activated depending on where Pluto is placed in your chart. So it would mean that Pluto is your dominant planet in your natal chart, which I'm a Plutonian. I'm considered a Plutonian because Pluto is my dominant planet. And what that means is that anywhere that Pluto falls, it's going to bring out, it's going to play out that theme in your life, right? And so the archetypal energy is like, again, it's intensity, it's intuition, it's perception, it's very powerful. It can be, alternatively, it can be obsessive, provocative, it can symbolize lust. And, I would say small births and small deaths and like kind of a sequence of those, and I just really liked the idea because I thought, well, I'm a Plutonian, the drummer is a Plutonian, and actually the artist is a Plutonian. And I thought, what are the chances? We've got the holy trinity of Plutonian.
That's super cool. That's super cool. Now I want to know, what am I?
Yeah. You'll probably look it up afterwards because it really is. It's. I can understand why a lot of people kind of don't really buy into it, and I mean, that's what happens if you read, like the little back columns in the paper or something. There's so much more to it, and you can study it for years. So
wow, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you guys to put the album together?
So everything about the album, in a way, was very unconventional and kind of like unruly, I guess. And it kind of happened really quick. I went and visited Vancouver when I was still in England to go visit my family. And, you know, thankfully I had a couple of very good friends who encouraged me to take on the project, because I'd said, you know, I have all these songs that I need to record, and I hadn't recorded an album for over 12 years. You know, it doesn't mean that I wasn't active in the music industry. I just, you know, I just couldn't, you know, whether it was financial or, you know, the circumstances didn't allow for it. I just couldn't record the record that I wanted to my standards during all that time. So it just didn't happen, you know. So basically I went to go see my family. I came back to England and I was like, that's it, I'm doing it. I booked studio time in this studio in the small town, because I lived in a village of like 100 people. And so it was really, it was so different to Toronto life. And then, you know, in the town center, there was a studio. So I booked the time there, and I really, truthfully, didn't really know what I was doing. You know, I knew what my vision was, but I didn't know what I was doing. You know, it's kind of like throwing darts blindfolded, you know. So I went in, and I thought, God, I don't even remember how to record a record. It's been so long. What do you do first, you know? And time was of the essence, because, you know, I had a budget and I just wanted to get it done. So all in all, the entire recording was done in 10 full days.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, hiccups. Yeah. There were some challenges at first, because what happened was I played all the acoustic tracks to a click, and thought, okay, well, you know, James will come in and he'll record to the click. And what ended up happening was that when I went home and heard it the first time, I thought, oh no, we both played to the click, but we didn't play to each other. So there were like moments that were out. I thought, okay, well, let's just keep going. So then I went back and I re-recorded all the guitar tracks to his drums. And again, this all happened within the 10 days. You know, and then there were times I'd come home and I'd think, oh, you know, this doesn't sound the way I want it to sound. It sounds like a demo, you know. But as I started to layer and do things, it was starting to sound like a record, you know. And I thought, okay, and that was that. So I recorded 6 full days in the studio in England. Then I hired an organ player, and in total, the songs that he played on, he spent about a full day recording those tracks from his home. And then I recorded the remaining vocals in Vancouver when I came here. And it was mixed in the US. So
wow, that is so cool to know. You were really working. You were really, really working. So how many hours do you think you were in there?
The studio days were about 8 hours. And, you know, the engineer who engineered the instrumentation, because he did all the instrumentation and like sprinkles of vocals. He didn't take breaks. None of us took breaks, because it's like, we have to get this done, you know? So.
Well, I bet it was a lot of fun, because when you are doing something that you love to do, you have fun with it, and those 8 hours probably didn't feel that long. Maybe sometimes, I don't know.
Oh yeah, I don't, like, when I get into something, like, I don't want it to stop. I would have stayed up late, you know. I wouldn't have eaten. I would have just been, let's go, you know. I would have been, God, like 3 days later, you know. But you know, get it in sometime and get sleep.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow, that is so cool. And so I know that you mentioned that your album the full album will be out August 21st, right?
Yeah, so again, because everything was done unconventionally because of the, I guess, sort of precarious times we're living in, the album was actually released digitally in April, on April 21st, 2020, and it was released on Bandcamp. They just wanted to release it, you know. It was like, let's just get it out there, and that was actually my original deadline. And then as things evolved, I'm like, okay, I guess I got to do this, and then I've got to do this, and so yeah, on Spotify and iTunes and all of those online retailers, the full album will be available on there on August 21st, but I've slowly been releasing a song a week. So I just released Chiron from the album last Tuesday, and on next Tuesday, Sister Rosetta Tharpe will be available on there too. And then American Dream, and then the whole album. Yeah. And it's coming out on vinyl too.
That's awesome. So so when you release Chiron on YouTube, I was listening to it on my way home from work. And I think I had it on repeat for about 4 or 5 times. I just kept listening over and over and over.
Really?
I like that song a lot.
Cool. I'm happy to hear that.
That's a cool song. I also like the break in the song where the sound changes towards the end. I was like,
Right.
that's really cool. And your voice is amazing.
Oh, thank you. I have a lot of insecurities about my voice, truth be told. I still feel insecure about it. Let's be vulnerable here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I had vocal nodes several years ago, where you get calluses on your vocal cord.
Oh, yeah.
And, I think that added some residual psychological trauma, and scarring, and it's made me feel like, my voice isn't quite the same as what it was. Is it still good, and it's just a battle, and it's just, you just have to get on with it, and hopefully one day, I guess, you just get over it.
Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that. But you sound good. I love your voice. I love that when I hear your voice, I can feel what you're feeling. I can feel it. I was like, okay, she's really into it. I love it, but I do love that song a lot.
I'm happy to hear that. Very cool.
Yeah. So today, so I know you have a song planned for us to perform today.
Yeah.
What song would that be?
Well, I'm going to actually be singing American Dream.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, whenever you're ready, Allison, you can get set up and perform that.
Okay, so I've got my guitar here. So this is American Dream off of Plutonian. Mom is sitting at the table. Daddy's got a gun. You said, I gotta admit it, I'm no longer myself. Someone get me out of here. Oh, we've become too poor. We can't pay the bills no more. Johnny C, he cries and just pulls up his sleeves. Johnny picks up his magnum, pours gasoline down the hall. He said, so we best be running so the state won't be taken. Slipped up what we love and know. Alright. Oh, we're in deficit. It's better than taking a bullet. There's no time to see. We're running cause we've got no money. The Queen Bee has lost all its honey. It's funny. We're running the sea. We've been chasing the American dream. Taxman is coming, the house is in flames. He said, stop, boy, you're running, but ended up on his knees. Yeah, what they tell you, you can't run away from your problems. They will face you.
That was good. Welcome. That was so good. So bluesy.
Yeah. It's definitely got that blues undertone for sure.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Allison.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And so Can you tell us again where we can find your album once it comes out and your music?
Yeah, definitely. So you can actually currently find it on Bandcamp if you look up Alison Solo Plutonian, and you can find Chiron on Spotify and iTunes. You know, all of those online retailers right now. Okay. And on August 21st, the whole album will be available. So all of the singles off that album, I've put them out as singles. And then late September, it's going to be available on vinyl. But if you just go to my Facebook page, it's Alison Solo Band. You know, all the updates are going to be on there. And I also started a YouTube channel, which is Alison Solo, and I've been releasing lyric videos, so you can find it on there too.
All right. Well, thank you. You guys heard her. You can find some of her music on iTunes. She also has a Facebook page. You can check her out, and an Instagram page, correct?
That's right, yes. I forget about that one because, yeah, I don't know. I don't like it as much. I like Facebook.
You guys. Yeah, well, thank you again, Alison. We've enjoyed having you on the show. And once again, guys, I'm TQ with Mic and Cheese, and we'll see you later.
Okay, thank you, TQ. You have a good night.
Thank you.
Yummy. Mac and cheese.